Let's find out about how your life in rock and roll is going on, Andy. So, we're here today to talk about SAOR's new record, Amidst the Ruins, out February 7th on Season of Mist. As always, thank you very much for taking the time.
Nice to see you again.
It's a pleasure seeing you. My 2025 is starting off on a great note. New music from you, and I get to see you.
Well, you're the only person that's told me that, so thank you.
So, first of all, I have to ask you this. How does the album title uh, fit into the overall experience that the album delivers?
Um, so the album title came to me last year. I was out hill walking and I seen some like ruins of buildings, like old cottages or buildings. And I just thought it came to me amidst the ruins of something that was here before. Um and just thinking about all the people that used to live there and communities that used to be there that are not no longer there. Um, and yeah, that's where the idea for the album title came from. And I guess it's got a double meaning as well because being the positive guy that I am, I you kind of feel like you're living amidst the ruins these days with what's going on in the world. I feel that nowadays a lot of people don't have a lot of good attention spans and good attention spans and um, you know, uh, yeah, it's just crazy the world now. So that's kind of where Amidst the Ruins came from.
I think it's great. I think it's a great story that you're telling, and I think it fits the record perfectly in terms of the sound and the experience that it gives. And that takes me to my next point, which is this is your sixth studio album. What did the previous five taught you that you feel was critical in order for this one to be what it is?
Um, well, the last album, Origins, the songs were a little bit shorter than this album and the previous albums. Um, and I kind of deliberately did that because I wanted to see if I could write shorter songs and have all the same, um, the same sounds and the same kind of style on a shorter album. And some people think it works, some people don't. Um, and yeah, I'm probably one of the people that probably thinks it didn't really work very well. So I decided on this new album, to go back to the old school way, the long songs, 10 plus minutes. Um, so yeah, the previous albums I've also learned that a lot about recording. I did a lot of the recording myself. And before I was working with other people, so that was another thing. Apart from that, I mean, it was just everything just came kind of naturally to me. It always does. I don't think too much about the past. I just, pick up the guitar. That's what happened with Amidst the Ruins.
And that is an interesting aspect because, well, I mean, having some shorter tracks, I'm sure it helps you when you're putting a set list together. Otherwise, if you're playing 45 minutes, you're really just playing four songs. So having some shorter tracks maybe will help you that way. But this album had something that I hadn't really felt before on the previous five records, which was a sense of versatility to it. And what I mean by that is that I can listen to each and every single song on its own and they have a beginning, middle, and end. They have their own journey, they have their own path, they have their own story to tell. And then if you put them together in the context of the record and you listen to them in order, you also get an experience out of it because you're connecting paths together and then you're just developing a much longer journey than what you could get from the individual songs. I felt like on previous records, you not necessarily were able to create those two very different experiences, but yet still connected to one another. And on this record, it was flawless. You could really take either approach. Was that by accident?
You've thought about this way more than me, man. Uh,
Maybe I've listened to your record more than you.
oh, I doubt that. I don't know. As I said, the obviously I've always had a certain way of writing songs where, it can come in straight away, blast beats, riffs, heaviness, harsh vocals, and then it takes you to a more, I don't like to say softer, but a more atmospheric based kind of sound with folk instruments and clean guitars and all that kind of stuff. So I've always liked the dynamics of that. I've always enjoyed music like that in general. But yeah, as I said, man, like everything just naturally happens. Some things work, some things don't, and I feel in this new album, after I recorded it and listened to it back, I just thought, yeah, this is like probably my best stuff. But I guess every musician says that, don't they, about their new albums?
I'm sure you said that about
Uh,
Origins.
yeah. Oh no, I said that's fucking awful, man. It's awful. No, I'm only joking. Um, no, honestly, yeah, I thought that about Origins as well. And as times went by, there's good stuff in Origins, but it was a little bit of an experiment for me, as I said, with the shorter songs. And in this new album, I feel that all the elements of the old albums are on it, but with the modern production and the more modern approach that I took with since Forgotten Paths, maybe. So yeah. As I said, you've thought about this more deeply than me. I'm just a dumbass musician that doesn't
Well,
think
now
a
I've
lot.
given you something to think about. So that more modern production touch, I saw that on the record too. Do you feel like, and I'm gonna explain this to you. I'm a huge fan of Outlander. I don't know if you've ever seen the show or not, but I'm a huge fan of the show. Like really, like I love that show. It's absolutely phenomenal. We picked up in my house a few of the slang words that they use in that show. And when I was listening to this album, I'm like, man, you could take this record and use it not from a vocal standpoint but from a musical standpoint and use it as score pieces on a show like that. Every song I could fit in an episode or on a scene or on something like that, and I felt like maybe the production on this record gave this album almost more of an epic movie score style experience. Do you see that as well?
Yeah, I've always loved like music soundtracks, from when I was younger. Lord of the Rings soundtrack, just fucking top tier music. Also, uh, obviously growing up, I saw stuff like Braveheart and stuff like that, which is kind of just fantasy kind of stuff. But I've always loved that kind of medieval type stuff, and obviously we're talking about Outlander. I mean, Outlander's okay. It's I think it was actually a romantic novel or something like that, and it's just been put to TV. So I've watched like the first two seasons maybe, and then it got a bit crazy. It got a bit weird, and yeah. So, but I can see where you're coming from. They used a lot of cool places in Scotland to like a lot of cool locations to film it, and I've always been interested in the Jacobites, and that's part of the Outlander story. So, um, coming back to soundtracks, yeah, it's definitely got more of a orchestral aspect to it, I guess. I just like great music, man. I don't go into like writing albums and think I'm going to write a black metal album or I'm going to write this certain way. I just see where it takes me. Obviously coming from a metal background, there's always going to be metal elements on it, but we get tagged as black metal quite a lot. And yeah, there is black metal elements, and I am from a black metal background, but I don't necessarily go in to create a black metal record. I like these uplifting moments in the music as well, and I don't see some sort of like cult dark throne enthusiast really sitting enjoying, this four-piece string part that's got major chords. So as I said, I just go into it with being a music fan. I'm a music fan first, and that's the main thing for me.
So when you have the mindset of working on a record and you go in with that open mindset, when do you start to define what the album is going to be? Do the songs define the album for you, or after creating the first song, you start to feel, okay, this is the path that I'm going to go down?
Yeah, probably. It's actually really hard at the beginning because you're demoing quite a lot of music, and a lot of it doesn't get used, but something just clicks when you're writing. especially for this album. I think it was Amidst the Ruins, the first track that I wrote, and it was just flowing so well. And it's one of those things that once you get started, you can't stop. So I was like, right, on to the next song. What's this going to be? On to the next song, and I just continually because you only get that brief moment where you've got this inspiration, and you don't. And a lot of times when I'm writing music, I'll do a demo and I'll come back to it and I'll go, I don't really like that. I've heard that so much. So you need to like tap into that moment of inspiration you've got to do this kind of music. So when I did Amidst the Ruins, something just clicked and I was like, okay, just keep going. And I wrote loads and loads of music all in the same week or two. And then from there, I um took a little break, came back to it, and then started editing a lot of the parts, taking parts from other sort demos into other demos, just seeing where all the jigsaw pieces fit. And also I did an acoustic track, which I've never done, the Sylvan Embrace. That was the last track. And I've always wanted to do something acoustic. We've played acoustic shows before. We've played the metal songs in acoustic form, and it's always had really good feedback. So I really wanted to do an acoustic song on this album as well. So yeah, that's kind of how it all came together.
To go back into the TV shows, would you ever be open to work on a movie score or on a TV series score?
Yeah, I would definitely be interested in it. It depends if it was good or not, right enough. Um, yeah, I think it's a lot of pressure, isn't it, to write something for a movie or a TV show. And with my writing, I'm not sure they're looking for a 15-minute blast beats and all. I'm pretty sure they're not looking for that. But I can see your point about the Outlander scenes and stuff, especially the more ambient and atmospheric parts of my music. Definitely would fit into that world.
Yeah, perfectly.
But yeah, I'm too busy these days to write anything but this, anything but
Listen,
this
I'm sure
project.
if Netflix came calling, waving some of their magic dollars, I'm sure you wouldn't turn it down.
Oh, Netflix pay people? Wow, that's news to me.
Yeah, they're not like Spotify. They actually pay people.
Oh, yeah, I really enjoy my Spotify royalties. They're great. Yeah. That's why I'm living in this mansion.
I was gonna say that that's why you're traveling all over the world is through your Spotify money that you're earning.
Yeah, that's it. And I mean, it does go towards the private jet. So, you got to just keep those dollars coming in from Spotify. Great guys, those guys.
Jet. I don't think you could even afford one of those Matchbox cars, never mind a private jet. But those are quite
That's
expensive, especially the limited
Yeah, I know.
edition ones. This record also has something that we haven't talked about yet, which is a great sense of folkiness in the sound and the melodies. Like there's a lot of great folk melodies on this record, both coming from the more traditional instruments, but also from a guitar standpoint. Is it as much fun for you to work on those as it is to work on the heavier pieces of the record?
Yeah, when I'm doing the sort of folk, Celtic, Scottish melodies, they're the things I play about with most, because um, I mean, I grew up listening to a lot of folk kind of stuff, and it's always like ingrained in my mind. So when I'm writing it, it comes quite naturally, but I do often like change parts, and I might write a guitar lead that's very like folky, and then I'll speak to Ella from the band, and she might say, "Well, why don't I try it on tin whistle?" And then I take the lead out. So there's a lot of different things going on during the recording process, but yeah, I'm actually not from like any traditional folk background either. I grew up playing your usual stuff, Metallica and all that kind of stuff when I was younger. I've always been surrounded by folk music just from where I was brought up, and where I live, and I've always enjoyed listening to it. And I think I kind of with this project I've went into it trying to recreate those sounds and maybe not doing them how a folk musician would do them. I'm creating my own version of it. So I guess that gives the project a little bit of uniqueness that way.
Gives it your own special fingerprint.
Yeah, yeah.
What part of the process do you like the least of when it comes to making a new record? Like if you could outsource it, you would outsource it.
All of it.
Really?
No. I don't really like recording, I have to admit. I love writing the demos and I love having the freedom of doing what I want during that. When it comes to the recording, it's like there's no fun in sitting for like an hour trying to nail like one lead part and get it perfect. And you almost get to that point where you're like, I absolutely hate this part now. But you have to nail it 100% because it's going to be in record forever. So I don't really enjoy that part. And I mean, it's not as enjoyable as people think because then after that, you're going on to the vocals and then you're doing all these different takes and you're getting frustrated and yeah, and forgetting lyrics and then it's getting to the mixing process, and then you're doing all these like little tiny details. You know, can you put the guitars up that much, and you can put the drums down that much, and then there's other things going on that you have to change. So it's not as enjoyable as it sounds, but obviously I'm thankful for all the guys that I work with, and you know the results pretty epic, and I'm really happy with it.
Yeah, I mean the results speak for themselves. Do you have a favorite song on this record or a song that perhaps is a little bit closer to home?
Um, Favorite song on it? Probably Echoes of the Ancient Land. I just think it's got all the elements of what SAOR is. It's got the fast-paced start, the riffs. It's got the Celtic folk melodies. It's got the clean vocals on it. It's got the epic outro. So I think that's one of my favorites, and it's very in your face from the start, and it builds up quite a bit, and then as you were speaking about earlier. It's got really good dynamics, I think, in that song. So yeah, that's probably my favorite. But I like parts of every song on the album, to be honest with you. Playing Rebirth live, for example, we've played all these songs live, and playing Rebirth live is awesome. I love playing that song live because it's probably the fastest song I've ever written, and you can see the crowds are really getting into it. So yeah, I'll go with Echoes of the Ancient Land if I have to pick a song.
That's one of my top three. That one, Amidst the Ruins and Rebirth. Those are my three
Yep,
favorite songs.
there you go.
It's a great track. It's a really good track. Super dynamic. Uh, Tons of movement, both musically and vocally. It's just a really complete song. And speaking of vocally, how was this album for you from a vocal standpoint when you compare it to previous records?
Um, well, I was really ill when I was recording this, so it took a long time. It was supposed to be out last year, the album. It was supposed to be recorded and out at the end of the last year, but I got back to back like illnesses and I had to delay things for months. And even when I went into the recording process, when I started recording, I was still pretty ill. So those harsh vocals are harsh. Like I was suffering for my art when I was doing them. It was quite hard, but you can hear it on the album, I guess, that I was putting all my effort into it. The harsh vocals are quite different than the last albums because in the last albums I did a more of a growl, I think, um, or a shout. I'm not trained to do harsh vocals, as you can probably tell. So, on the early albums, they're a bit all over the place. They're a bit shouty, they're a bit growly, and as time went on, I feel that I've sort of changed it to a more black metal raspiness,
Mhm.
almost. Not high pitched, but the more raspy black metal approach. And the clean vocals. I quite enjoy doing clean vocals. I'm not the best singer, but I quite enjoy messing around with harmonies and stuff like that. So yeah, it was not a fun experience at all, but as I said, I'm really happy with the outcome and how good it sounds on the record.
Is it good from your standpoint to be able to create music like this where you're not necessarily bound by any restrictions or by any, limitations that, like you mentioned before, people that, label you guys as black metal, but this record has black metal, but it's a lot more than just black metal. So not being forced into a box, does that allow you to be as creative as you want to?
Yeah, I just don't see the point of writing music unless you're expressing yourself 100% with all your inspirations and influences. I could easily right now write a grim cult black metal album with the same riffs you've heard from the 90s, and bands do it and people like that, and that's fine. But for me, I like to sort of push myself and do different things and have different sounds and yeah, and I also like music to like kind of take me away from like modern life. I like to put headphones on and close my eyes and be taken away somewhere. And I feel like that's what I'm trying to do in my music with you said it was kind of like movie soundtrack influences on it. Like I love that kind of stuff. I love listening to movie soundtracks. I love listening to folk music, and I feel like yeah, there is a huge black metal element in it. Um, that's my background, black metal. So that's always going to appear in the music, I guess, and it gives it a nice um sort of not rawness, but sort of organic feel. I think that the blast beats and the riffs, and it's still got that punch to it. I could easily write SAOR as a post-rock band or whatever, not have distorted guitars, but that would take away from the whole experience, I think. And I think a lot of people that don't like black metal like us as well, it's maybe a gateway band, if you want to call it that, for other maybe more raw bands or more black metal focused bands. So yeah, as I said, I like music. I'm a music fan first, you know. I write music because I enjoy it and I like to express myself through the music, and I don't see the point of having boundaries.
Wow, yeah, I was just thinking about the word gateway because I know people who listen to you because they're folk metal fans, and then I know people who listen to you because they're black metal fans. So you're kind of appealing to a much broader audience that way.
Yeah, I mean, there's people that don't even really like metal and they like the bands, like they say, "Oh, I'm not really into all that heavy screaming stuff, but I actually really like your band." And you're kind of like, "Okay, that's cool." You know, it's music at the end of the day, You can like it or leave it, yeah, I'm not trying to shit in black metal bands by any means, Like I do love a lot of black metal bands and I get it. You got to gatekeep your genre. You got to you got to keep that sound and you got to keep that image, and that's cool. And I enjoy quite a lot of it. But for me, with SAOR specifically, I'm just interested in making good music. And if people like it, that's cool as well.
Yeah, I don't think we'll ever see you with corpse paint at a live show. I mean, never say
Well,
never.
I've got Fua, the side project, and we wear a tiny, tiny little bit of, if you want to call it corpse paint, face paint. And that's more black metal focused. Getting all my black metal influences out in that project. But yeah, you'll never see me in corpse paint. I already look like I'm in corpse paint now, so there's no point.
You just be reenacting reality, and
Yeah, exactly.
there's
I'd
no
probably be
fun.
making myself look nicer, to be honest.
There's no fun in that. When you release an album like this, do you set any expectations for what you hope the album brings you?
No, no, not really. Um, it's interesting. It's weird being a musician and spending so many months and so much money on recording something and then releasing it in the public. It's just a weird experience. It's like 99% all positive. You always get the 1% that don't like it, and that's fine. And they always leave you lovely messages as well, telling you they don't like it. Because my life is destroyed by your comment. Oh, but yeah, I just put it out there, hope people like it, and just get on with it. I have no expectations whatsoever. I don't expect it to. I've already got my private jet and my mansion, so what else do I need in life?
I know. Those royalties from Spotify are kicking in already.
Exactly. But nah, I've no expectations. I just hope people like it. I hope the fans of the band enjoy it, and I hope we get new fans through it. That's the main thing. Um, I write music mainly for me, and it's my expression. It's my it's my hobby, it's my, passion. So I do it for me mostly. I know that's a bit selfish, but
Yeah,
yeah.
it's you're allowed to be selfish. I got one last question for you. I hosted here in Toronto a Q&A with Dark Tranquillity, and one of the fans that came to the show was wearing a shirt from your band. I took a picture of her pointing at her boobs, and I wasn't really pointing at her boobs. I was just pointing at the name of the band, but it looked like I was pointing at her boobs. I sent it to you so that you could see that you have some fans in Canada. I know it's difficult to tour in North America due to all the costs that, even though you have a private jet, it's still very difficult to tour in North America. Do you have any plans whatsoever, at the very least, to come to Canada because we don't have any visa, royalties, for lack of a better term?
Yeah, we've been in talks for a while with a few people from Canada. It's just things haven't lined up yet. But we have played Canada before in 2019, but only two shows. But we definitely would, consider coming back. One if we have the time, and two if the offers works for us because we have musicians from all over Europe. We've got Swiss guys, we've got German guys, we've got a Spanish drummer, the live band. So it all has to work out for everyone. It has to, for flights and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm positive that we will eventually come back to Canada, but the US is like a no-go. I mean, even when we went in 2019, the visa costs were ridiculous, and we literally broke even with the merch sales, So we literally went there for free, which I'm not complaining about. I had a good time. It was really cool to play to all the US fans, but I think it's even more expensive now
Yeah, it's
to go
double
there.
or tripled.
And it's like, why would I, why would I want to pay all that money, just to go and not make any back, or at least, break even. You're not even guaranteed that. So it's a shame because I would love to go back. I had such good memories of that tour. Um, we played Fire in the Mountains Festival, which was a really cool experience, and um, I got to see all these places that I thought I'd never see. But it is what it is. The visa costs. It's just unfortunate.
Well, if you come back to Toronto and you need a place to crash, let me know. My door is open. It won't be like the mansion that you currently live in, but I guess it will do. It will have to do.
Yeah, I mean, I love doing my job for the peasants. I love coming out and seeing them and hanging out with them. So definitely, I
It's,
might take your offer up.
it's funny that you call them peasants. I refer to them as the great unwashed.
Well, you said that, not me.
At least that's how I refer to everybody else who's beneath me, the great unwashed. Andy, thank you very much for your time. Always a pleasure. It was so nice to see you guys at Inferno last year. It was an absolute blast. I'm going back to Inferno this year. I'm now wearing that pink hoodie again. So I
Easy
had a
to
lot
spot.
of talk about gatekeeping. I had a lot of people looking at me super weird. So I think I've learned my lesson and I'm gonna go in all black.
Oh, but then you'll just merge in with everyone else. That was your unique thing, your pink hoodie. You should wear it again.
I was like a unicorn. Like, you could pick me in the middle of a crowd. Andy, once again, thank you so much. All the best for this release.
Thank you, man. Cheers. Appreciate